Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Riverfront Red Show, a part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. This is episode number 534 of the world's most dangerous podcast, where we will discuss, you better believe it, the Cincinnati Reds. And specifically, are we enjoying getting crawled once again? With me this week is a familiar face, Chad Dawson. Chad, how are you?
Buddy, better than I deserve. It's, nothing better in the world than talking about the Cincinnati Reds, right?
There have been moments throughout history when that has been true. But we're going to do it because we owe it to the people, Chad. We owe it to the people.
There we go. Friends of the common man. That's us.
It's been said. Before we go any further, shout out to our friends and family over at patreon.com/riverfront Cincy, without whom this would not be possible. We'd love to have more people in the family. We have some new members join up just this week. More on that later. Call that a little teaser in the business. And, like us, follow us, subscribe to us, tell people about us. Let's grow this bad boy. Let's keep it going. Keep the good times rolling. Chad, the vibes still okay. Still more good than bad. Not quite as high as I think they have been lately on the heels of a 2-4 road trip playing the defending world champion Texas Rangers, and then the Carlos Guevara favorite San Diego Padres. Some say the Padres. I'm just pronouncing it how I see it. That's what my eyes are telling me. It says Padres. But whatever you think. I don't know how you feel after some near misses. Like that 2-4 could have been 4-2 or better pretty easily, but it was not to be the case.
Yeah, I guess the way I'm feeling is this. Why would I be upset about this? My vibes are still good here. I mean, sure, they're one game over 500, 3.5 back. They did go 2-4 on this road trip, but like you said, could have been worse, could have been better. Close games. The pitching is looking great. We'll get into that some. And I don't know. This is still an incomplete team for a variety of reasons. Some that they couldn't be helped, some that could be helped, but management didn't want to. But otherwise, it's they're above 500. We're in May. They're above 500. I'm telling you. Those who are upset about that, I mean, whatever, be a fan however you want, but just try to remember, unless you were born yesterday, try to remember how many times they've been above 500 at the beginning of May in your life, and then just chill a little bit because, there's good reason to think things are going to get even better.
Yeah, could not agree more. They have not been. I think this is the first time being over 500 at the end of April in David Bell's tenure.
I think the first time since 2013, I believe it's the first time since 2013. So we're talking more than a decade. So, I mean, it's a little bit, it's a little bit of, being excited over small victories, but I will take small victories at this point in my life as a Reds fan.
Yeah, 100%. And particularly when you look at how established major league veterans are struggling. Sorry, I don't know if you could hear that in the background. The movers here today and the cats are going crazy. A lot of players are performing below expectations. I think that's putting it lightly. This offense has been pretty anemic outside of Ellie De La Cruz and Spencer Steer, with some encouraging things from Tyler Stevenson. They just have not been hitting the ball whatsoever, but the pitching has been fantastic, starting and relief. And it's the fact that they are above 500 and are playing about as poorly as I think that we can expect them to play until we start getting some of these guys back. More on that soon. It's exciting. It's fun. Every game matters. We're caring about Reds baseball. The guys still seem like they're having fun, even though you're watching some people step into that batter's box that should not be making 3 to 5 plate appearances a game. So I don't know.
Yeah,
keep the good vibes rolling.
Just quickly, we'll talk a little bit more about the individuals on the offense and all that. But I think what you just said is something that we need to take a step back and and realize is absolutely true. I'm not sure that the offense can get any worse than it has been recently. Okay. And so that should be encouraging. They're above 500. And the offense has been, I mean, really, with a couple of exceptions recently, they're just struggling to score. Someone sent me a message the other day, way back in the day when we used to write the recap. They still write the recaps at Red Leg Nation. But when I used to write them, you'd have a game where the Reds couldn't score, and I just wouldn't recap the offense. I would just put TOS. This offense stinks. But TOS became the shorthand. And so someone sent that to me on Twitter yesterday. I thought, terms of service, what have I done? But then I remembered that 15 years ago, that's what we used to say when the offense was bad, TOS. And so the difference here is that this offense has real possibilities. Now, it may continue to stink the rest of the year. We're not going to guarantee that, but I just can't imagine all these players being this bad for that long. So,
yeah, me either. And if it means you're going to bring back Milton the GOAT, then I think we should all be pretty happy about that. We can root for that. Yeah, let's get into some standings.
That's a blast from the past there.
Just proving that I used to read your website on occasion. In first place right now, as of recording this at 6:40-ish p.m. on Thursday, the Brewers still leading the Central at 19-11. The Fuzzy Cubbies lost today, so they are now at 19-13. Your Cincinnati Reds, 16-15, 3.5 games out of first. Cardinals and Pirates are both just stinking up the joint, and nothing makes me happier. Few things make me happier. Cardinals 14-17, Pirates 14-18. Their offense has been even worse than the Reds. Something I want to get into right away, though, is, and I would like to speak with some people that are fans of other teams, because it seems like the Reds do this constantly. Why does Nick Krall refuse to have a full roster take the field in meaningful games? I think last night in the Wednesday night game, there was one available person on the bench on the offensive side of things, Bubba Thompson, who's maybe the worst offensive player in the entire game. Like, what are we doing here? Is this a Reds thing?
I'd like to know the answer to that question as well, whether other teams do this as often as Reds. And we can blame Krall for this one, but it's not just a Krall thing. It's been happening since before Krall got here. The Reds constantly play shorthanded, and it's like they didn't want to, fly someone. It costs money to fly someone to San Diego. I don't know. I don't understand it. I've never understand it. Again, and are you bringing somebody that's going to be, that you're going to stick in the starting lineup, going to be a turn this offense around? Maybe not, but goodness gracious, get somebody out there so that you have a little bit of flexibility late in the game. You hamstring David Bell. It's just, I do wonder, because we don't follow other teams as closely as we follow the Reds. I do wonder. I'm sure some other teams are like this, but it seems like a Cincinnati tradition.
If it's one player, if it's a 25-man roster instead of a 26, here and there, because the guy's just going to be out for 3 days and you don't want to put him on the 10-day IL. Like, okay, I can be convinced that makes sense. But in what world is it okay to only have one available player? What if somebody got hit and had to leave the game and another player twisted their ankle rounding second base, which would require them to get to second base, which didn't happen very often? Like, suddenly you literally can't build a full lineup. I just don't understand it. Maybe somebody can illuminate this for me and help me better understand it. But I mean, Jake Fraley has played twice in the past 2 weeks because he had some bad food somewhere. He should have been on the IL. I mean, he said he's having trouble breathing. Yeah, probably could have safely put him to the IL. Jonathan India missed time. CES and Tyler Stevenson, got into a fist fight with Michael Lorenzen. Don't quote me on that. No, don't fact check me there. But they've been out for a week, and if they don't start on Friday, then what? They were out for 10 days.
Yeah,
it's making me crazy, because I say it all the time. They have not made the playoffs very many times in my life. I honestly feel like this team has a real shot. I mean, until a few days ago, if the season ended today, the Reds were in one of the wild card spots. So let's keep the rose-colored glasses on for that reason. but it's going to come down to a handful of games, one way or the other. And making David Bell manage with one hand tied behind his back leaves him with no hands. So I don't know. That's the end of my frustration.
Well, can I talk about something that I did enjoy from this past week?
Please, let's go. Get me out of here. Turn this around. The energy's too low right now.
Yeah, it is. It is. And again, keep those vibes up. Good vibes only, because we're still okay. But I think it was Saturday's game at Texas, where and I guess maybe this is a good point. You're running this, driving this train, but maybe it's a good time to start talking about Hunter Green. But that Saturday game, well, the Reds actually scored 8 runs. So yes, scoring runs is fun, right? But Jonathan India, who has not been very good, but 4 for 4 ribeye steaks, home run off of Michael Lorenzen, and then Hunter Green. Oh my goodness. 7 innings pitched, 1 hit, no runs, 6 Ks, 1 walk. I mean, we did it. We did it. We survived. We made it through. Hunter Green is now an ace. Finally, it happened.
It's official.
Maybe.
It's official. Back-to-back 7 inning starts for Hunter.
That's it. The one before, rightly so, everyone said, yeah, but he gave up 4 runs in those 7 innings. And that's a completely fair criticism, right? But he got to the 7th inning. That was the biggest criticism of him to this point. And so it was good to see him. I guess he's probably done it before in his career. I don't know how many times, maybe only once, maybe 0, but back-to-back 7 inning starts. That wasn't a big deal years ago when it was, Steve Carlton and Nolan Ryan, but that's a pretty big step for him. And again, not that we're declaring he had 2 starts where he was more pitch efficient. So he's actually, I did just say we did that. He's completely better now, but without being facetious, that's what he needed to do. And so progress. He's still younger than Johnny Cueto was when Johnny Cueto had his first great season. So come on, fingers crossed. He's still a kid.
Yeah, looking at that stat line right now, he's got a 3.63 ERA. That's a 1.18 ERA plus. His FIP is 2.94. So they're saying he's been a victim of some bad luck. My favorite stat here is probably his WHIP. You know how much I love WHIP. 1.096. Absolutely fantastic. He's keeping the hits down, keeping the walks down. The one thing that I'm going to note, and let me know your thoughts on this, is that so we've always been saying we just want to see some progress out of Hunter. It seems like he's stagnated a little bit. We want to see progress. He introduced a 3rd and 4th pitch in spring training. Has been reluctant to throw the 4th very much, but he's playing around with that splitter. Best outing of the season so far, and he was pretty much only fastball slider. Do you think that there's anything to read into that?
Well, I wish I had an answer. I wish I had an answer because, frankly, I don't think anyone believes that Hunter Green can be an ace if he does not develop more than just those. Now, those 2 pitches are elite when they're on, especially. It's frustrating because, this is 3 straight years we've heard about him working on something, and he's just reluctant to use it. Now, if he starts using it and it gets hammered, starts using a 3rd pitch and it gets hammered, well, okay, everybody's gonna be yelling at him. I don't know. Maybe he's reluctant for that reason, but I can't imagine that he can sustain a career as a starting pitcher, even in this era where you're not throwing, 8, 9 innings. I don't know. I'm surprised we haven't seen him break out something else out of the box at some point. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I just think it's worth keeping an eye on. He has toyed with it this season. I think maybe Hunter's just on Twitter. He's like, "Oh, you guys get mad at me for not going 7 innings? Okay, I'm gonna give up some runs. All right, you guys mad at me for giving up some runs? Okay, I won't. But I'm only throwing 2 pitches." Been very reactionary, that Hunter Green. No, I mean, I think it seems like he is keenly aware, and he takes his performances to heart. The guy cares. He really, really cares. So maybe just in his mind, he said, "Hey, I'm super comfortable with these 2 things. I'm going to go attack the zone and see how it works." This time it did work against a pretty scary lineup. There have been a couple pitchers. I mean, recently, Robbie Ray won a Cy Young. with pretty much only 2 pitches. So it's doable. I tend to agree with you that the best version of him is going to need to develop a third, but maybe while we're complaining about the Reds front office not putting a roster on the field that allows them to go out and try to win every single game, maybe Hunter figuring that out in the middle of the season is just not when it needs to happen. And he can just go be whatever the best version of this two-ball pitcher Hunter Green is and figure it out later. I don't know, but I'm watching
maybe.
It.
Yeah, no, and I'm looking forward to see he pitches. Most of you all will be listening or watching this on Friday, and he will pitch Friday night against another good lineup, the Baltimore Orioles. And so I'm going to be very interested to see how what we get out of him in this another third straight 7-inning start. I don't know, we'll see, but bears watching because how he progresses throughout this season is going to be a big piece to how this team is able to, whether they're going to be able to take the next step. Some of you all remember Paul Doherty used to write for the Inquirer, and so he wrote something this week in his newsletter that said basically he thinks the Reds rotation is good enough to get the Reds to the postseason, but his thesis is you need a couple of hammers in the postseason to win, and that he didn't think the Reds have that right now. So we can argue about that, yes or no, whether we do. I think the jury's really still out because the guys that are pitching really well right now don't exactly have a long track record of being able to stay healthy and be good. But I think ultimately I don't agree with that, but maybe that's just me being optimistic. But in terms of a rotation that can get them to the playoffs, I think it's pretty clear at this point that signs are good, right? I mean, we got 4 really good pitchers. It's not even including the guy that started opening day. So if you're looking for a reason to be happy, to be optimistic, buddy, this is it.
Yeah, absolutely. To that question, I don't care if they have a playoff ace or not. Just get us there.
Right.
That's the only part I care about right now. We will cross that bridge when we come to it. But just looking at these numbers, I mean, Graham Ashcraft also a 3.63 ERA to 1.18 ERA plus. Andrew Abbott has got a 3.27 ERA, 1.32 ERA plus. He's been nails. Nick Martinez has been exactly what we expected out of Nick Martinez. He's just starting more than we want him to have to start. Hopefully that ends soon. But Nick Lodolo has been nothing short of incredible. Another fantastic start since we last recorded. And then Frankie Montas, Frankie Moons, he's been fine. He started out really, really hot. A little bit rough before we went on the IL, but get some encouraging news there. It sounds like he might even make his next start. His next scheduled turn in the rotation. So they're going to have to get it done. We have, like we talked about earlier, guys that are underperforming, and we're going to get some guys back. It's no guarantee that those guys are going to start performing, and it's no guarantee that the guys coming back are going to hit either, especially after being away for so long. So as long as this bullpen and the starting rotation can keep up what they're doing, I see the Reds being there in the thick of things until the very end.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about, I've seen some unkind comments about Nick Martinez. First of all, let me just get that out of the way. The dude just is what he is. I mean, he's what we knew he was. He's a swing guy. He's a guy that can step in and make a start. He's not going to be great. He may get you 6 innings though, and he'll give up 4 runs, but he'll give you some innings. He should be in the bullpen, and hopefully he will be in the bullpen much of the year. I haven't heard an update recently. I meant to look it up actually because I hadn't heard anything in a while on Brandon Williamson. What was going on with him? I'd love to get him back in the depth mix in case they needed him. But I mean, Lodolo is just making people look silly again, and again, it's all about health with him. But he's done that many times. I mean, it's a theme. He makes people look silly when he's healthy. And he's 26 now. So, if he can have a full season here, this could be his real breakout year. Obviously, Andrew Abbott is obviously my favorite player on the team. Glad to see him pitch well. But I want to talk about your guy, Graham Ashcraft, for just a moment.
Hey, can we?
In the loss the other day to the Padres, 6 innings, gave up 2 runs. Not striking out as many people as I think I would like to see Graham Ashcraft strike out. He's 3rd on the team in strikeout rate among starters. and maybe walking. As walk rate's actually not that bad, but I've sort of settled into this idea that Ashcraft is he's a number 4, number 5 starter. I'm sorry, I know you love the guy, but if he's your number 4, number 5 starter, I come back to this idea that is a rotation that we haven't had in a decade in Cincinnati with a guy like that at the back of your rotation.
Last year, our number 5 starter was Luke Weaver.
Hey, there you go. Exactly right. So that's incredibly exciting stuff for a Reds. You're right. 12 months ago, think where this rotation was. Last September, think where this rotation was when they were starting Derek Law in the down the stretch. I mean, and guys they pulled up from AA. I mean, it was just so. So the reason I guess I want to talk about a little bit is that he's continued to look pretty good, but just if he's just a solidly above average pitcher, that raises the ceiling. The ceiling is the roof for the pitchers.
I can also, talking about playoff rotation, see him being sort of that perfect playoff starter where the manager's going to have a really short leash anyway, because the first couple times through the order, Graham Ashcraft is elite. He gets knocked around a little bit that third stretch. So you have a situation where you got Graham Ashcraft through 4 innings, Nick Martinez for another 2, and then you've got your Fernando Cruz, goes out with Alexis Diaz, whoever that third reliever is. Like, that could be a pretty formidable pitching staff in a playoff matchup. And you're right there. And all number 4, number 5 stars aren't created the same. Like the Chicago White Sox number 5 starter and the Reds number 5 starter are probably going to be looking at different stat lines. So having Graham as a back of the rotation guy, I think, is just an incredible turn of events. And, I'll spend plenty of time trashing on Nick Krall, but I'll give him credit for some of these moves because he went out and found guys like that. Quick update on Brandon Williamson. I typed him into DuckDuckGo and found out that Fansided is exploring trades for Brandon Ingram of the Pelicans. So that wasn't much help.
Oh, no.
But
I didn't hear that.
Google helped me find out from Blog Red Machine that Brandon Williamson is scheduled to start a minor league rehab assignment with the Arizona Complex League team on May 9th before advancing to AAA Louisville to conclude a rehab assignment. So it looks like he is on track to be joining back into the fold, maybe within the next 3 weeks, month.
I'm not sure that's a legitimate source. I hope they had good sourcing on that. So I'm not sure I would trust that particular outlet, but no, that's good news. That's
the tweet was
again,
from Gordon Whitmire,
yeah.
so I'm not sure. That's even better.
That's true. Our guy Gordo. All right, what else you have, Nate?
I guess we should talk about the offense a little bit. We mentioned it last episode. Tyler Stevenson, Ty Barrels. He's kind of been out, but if you just look at his stat line, I'm very encouraged with what I've seen and that continued defensive improvements. It's up to 113 OPS plus in the season, Ty Steve right now. So love that. Jamer Candelario has been abysmal, but had 5 hits in the Padres series, which might be like double the amount of hits he's had all season. So for trying to find some encouragement, if Jamer can start being that somewhat above average hitter that he's almost always been for his career, that's a great sign. We'll see. It's weird. You look up his numbers throughout his career in April, and they were always terrible.
Well, they were this April. I'll tell you that.
Cold weather. They were pretty gross. They're still pretty gross. He's sporting a robust, up to an 85 OPS plus now. He's got a lovely 194 batting average. Batting average is the best stat, but it is pretty bleak outside of Ellie and Jake Fraley. It's gross.
Jamer's just going to have to show it to me. Before we get to Ellie, Jamer's just going to have to show it to me. I mean, I can only judge him on what I've seen, and he has looked often lost at the plate. So, I'm like you. I'm hopeful that he's starting to turn it around, but my goodness, he's been tough to watch this year. But I want to talk about Ellie.
Please.
May I talk about Ellie De La Cruz? So here's my thesis. Here's my hot take. Happy learned to putt. Ellie has learned to walk. Now, that's getting ahead of myself a little bit, but Ellie De La Cruz's walk rate this year, 13.5%. That's just way higher than he ever did in the minor leagues. Last year, 427 plate appearances. Ellie took 35 walks. 427 plate appearances. This year, he has 126 plate appearances. So 300 fewer. And he's already taken 17 walks, almost half as many as he had all of last year. He's chasing pitches out of the strike zone 26.6% of the time. Last year, it was 35.3%. So he's not chasing balls out of the zone anymore. He also had a throw that was maybe incorrectly clocked, but it was clocked at 106.9 miles an hour. Ellie is a good baseball player, and he continues to improve. And I think that he's probably a good ball player. That's my hot take.
That is some serious analysis right there. That's what people come here for.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, looking at his baseball savant page, he's in the 89th percentile walk percentage right now. The fact that he did that in real time on the fly, he was swinging at everything the first couple of weeks of the season. And then somebody was like, "Hey, Ellie, stop." He said, "Word." He's not chasing anything. Pitchers aren't giving him anything to hit. You saw it mainly in that Angels series a little while back, but they just refuse to get beat by this guy, which goes back to you need some of these other guys to start cooking so they can't pitch around Elliott so much the way they are. But for him to be 22 years old and some of the best teams that we're going to face all year are refusing to throw the ball anywhere near the plate. And when it does get near the plate, he lays off of it. I can't believe that we get to watch that in real time to go along with the fact that he is like 90 plus percentile in the league in just about every single offensive metric outside of his striking out, which is still high, but has gotten way lower at the same time he started walking more.
Yeah, no, he's striking out too much, and I think he'd probably agree with that. But I think it was that Angel series. I think you're right, and it was just that's when it really became noticeable to me because there were pitches that in full counts that were just off the plate, clearly balls, but just off the plate. That a lot of guys would swing out on a 3-2 count, because their dads yelled at them in Little League, don't take a called third strike. It's close enough for the umpire to call it a strike. It's close enough for you to swing, Jamer. And just watching him take that and happily take it, even when runners are on base, which is, sometimes kids get excited and want to drive in those runs, and that's fine. But I'm all in on the Ellie De La Cruz experience, and nothing I've seen this year it's actually made me more excited because, last year he got tired. He struggled down the stretch big time. He wasn't walking a lot. He was striking out way too much. And so then he starts out this year, and I still, nothing had caused me to dim my enthusiasm over his future prospects. But I thought, it's going to take a little while. And it still might take a little while. There's going to be some ups and downs on this roller coaster with Ellie De La Cruz. Sure. But boy, I tell you what, it's been an extended period now of looking really good and looking like far and away the best hitter on this team at age, 14. It's amazing.
Yeah, just give him the blank check and tell him to fill it in. Right now, we're looking at he's already got 1.9 wins above replacement, which is ridiculous. If he's getting 2 wins above replacement per month, that's going to be a pretty good year. It's absolutely MVP caliber. 389 on base percentage, which is ridiculous. I don't think even the most optimistic people saw that in his future. 579 slugging, good for a 968 OPS, 171 OPS plus. He's quite simply been one of the best players in all of baseball. And we get to witness it. We get to watch it every day. So if you are the religious type and you say your prayers every night, pray for health for that young man because,
oh yes,
but if the Reds could be 0-30, and it's still worth tuning in every single night of the week to watch this guy on a baseball diamond. I love it. So thank you, baseball gods, for giving us Ellie. A little more on the offense. Spencer Steer went deep yesterday. Good to see that. People keep talking about how he's slumping, and perhaps you can call it that if you want to, but that's not what my eyes have been seeing. He's just been getting really unlucky. Seems like every game he has 1 or 2 line drives right at somebody, hard hit balls right at defenders. His approach, the way it is, I'm not going to say he's slump proof. Nobody's ever slump proof, but I think his lulls are going to be shorter than most, And hopefully that's what we're seeing right here. They'll start falling again. And if they're not falling in the gaps, Spencer just put him over the fence. It's a lot easier that way.
Professional hitter. We've mocked that term over the years, and I don't really know what it means, but I swear Spencer Steer just seems like a professional hitter. These guys are all professional hitters, even those like Stu Fairchild, who can't actually hit. They're professionals though. But Spencer Steer is just the embodiment of the term, the baseball term, professional hitter. You're right. I think maybe he slumped a little bit, but it may have been more bad luck, less slump, because he was still good approach at the plate. He didn't change what he was doing. So I like that guy.
What are you doing? The Stuart Fairchild slander.
That's the worst hitter in the history of the majors.
I feel bad for Stuart Fairchild. I feel bad for him at this point. First off, we got to shout out another incredible defensive play.
That's true.
It was ridiculous. That's his second robbed home run in 2 weeks, I think. He's playing some high-level defense out there. But if we're being real about it, yeah, Stuart Fairchild has been a horrible, horrible hitter this season. Most of his career. That's just kind of who he is. But his role on this team is supposed to be the 25th or 26th man who only faces left-handed pitchers. When he faces left-handed pitchers, he has been above average. He's been decent. Not great, but he's been fine. A guy that can fill that role, that platoon role for you. I don't think it's his fault that he keeps getting put in these disadvantageous positions by David Bell and Nick Kroll's roster construction. So,
wait, you're telling me that Stu Fairchild, you're telling me he's not a number 3 hitter? Because I could have sworn I saw a lineup card that said that on it.
You saw more than one.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, everything you say is correct. Everything you say is absolutely correct. But come on. I mean, he plays his tail off. His defensively is fun to watch. He can run the bases when he gets on base. He's fast. Seems like a good kid. I feel bad criticizing him because I think what you're saying is correct. It's not his fault that he's batting third. And he's put in a position where he's destined to fail. The best thing that managers can do is put their players in a position to succeed and protect them from situations where they're likely to fail. And I've praised David Bell in some ways for doing that. I think there's no justification for hitting him third in the lineup. And I know everybody's like, lineup doesn't matter that much. But yeah, it matters a little bit. And why would we want to give up anything, even on the margins, any advantages?
Well, especially when he was batting third, you got Ellie batting sixth.
Right. But the fact that that David Bell doesn't have enough players so that he has to play Stuart Fairchild that much, and against pitchers from both sides of the plate, that's the bigger problem. And that's not Stuart Fairchild.
Stu should be mad about that. You're taking money out of his pocket when you do that. If all he does is face lefties and he mashes them, he has carved out a long career as that kind of bat. We're seeing it from Jake Fraley right now. You can be in the league a long time if you can do one aspect of the game really, really well. But when you start diluting those stats with his performance against right-handed pitching, which is a 274 OPS against righties, 274 OPS. That's the number that you get when you add two numbers. It is horrendous. You got to imagine that cost him a few bucks. So, Nick Kroll, go out.
I wonder.
Get some dudes. Get some dudes.
I wonder if Stuart Fairchild has the same thought that you just had, that it's taking money out of his pocket. This guy's been a star his whole life. He probably believes in his mind that he can hit lefties and righties. He can get anybody. But I think you're right that if you put him in a position where he's likely to succeed, and he can put up some sort of superficial numbers against, I guess, lefties, combine that with his elite athleticism and his defense, yeah, he's a guy that could carve out a career. But if you're hitting, what are we looking at here? Let's find it. 190, 261 on base, 254 slugging. My goodness. It's not going to get it done. Just not going to get it done.
Yeah. And that's what's been frustrating, I guess. That's why I'm on one today instead of being as happy-go-lucky as I have been so far in this season. It's just been tough to watch these lineups. We got Nick Martini going out there 3, 4, 5 days a week, also hitting against left-handed pitchers. This is the guy getting all the at-bats that we were told weren't there. We were told that we had to let someone we care about a lot go because there just wasn't a place for him on the 2024 Cincinnati Reds. But there's definitely a place for Nick Stinking Martini. It was just Jake Fraley without the talent. I don't know what we're doing here and why I have to keep watching this slop. At this point, give me Mike Ford. Most importantly, you should have just let me keep having Joey Stinking Votto.
Well, that's the frustrating part is that, they should have just told the truth that we just didn't want to bring Votto back. Because that's the only explanation. They just did not want to. They wanted the Votto era to be over. Okay. And a lot of people, frankly, if my mentions on Twitter are to be any indication, a lot of people agree with that decision. And Nick Kroll, that might have been a popular decision amongst a lot of Reds fans. I don't know. But to say that there just weren't at bats for him completely. Well, and it's not like he's getting at bats anywhere else right now, but he wouldn't have gotten injured again if he were in Cincinnati.
He would have known where the bats were. He would have stepping in random dugouts.
So, but yeah, Nick Martini, though, hey, he's better than Joey Votto. David Bell had him in the lineup last year, as our buddy Carlos Gobert pointed out, against had Joey Votto sitting on the bench at the end of the season down the stretch with giving Nick Martini those at bats, and he's hitting 184, the 207 on base, 342 slugging. I mean, it's ugly. This offense is ugly. But again, get some guys back. Happily.
We won't see that soon. Let's jump into that real quick because there are a couple things. One has been scintillating Reds Twitter all day long, and it is Mike Ford watch. Mike Ford is a hefty boy down in Louisville, had a great spring training. A lot of people thought he was going to make the big league club. He did not, has been hitting pretty well down in Louisville, not setting the world on fire by any means, but he's been pretty good. He opted out of his contract, and the Reds had a very brief window to pick up his option and put him on the major league roster, or they lose him altogether. We are still waiting for that to resolve itself. But I would say the majority of Reds fans that I am able to take note of say, why is this even a question? We know Nick Martini doesn't work. Let's at least try the Mike Ford thing. Worst case scenario, he's as bad as Nick Martini, who's already on the roster. So I don't know if you have strong Mike Ford thoughts, but I'm always in favor of a hefty boy, and I'm definitely in favor of ending the Nick Martini experience.
Yeah, I don't have any strong thoughts about it, except that you're right. I mean, what can it hurt? I mean, if you expect Mike Ford to come up here and be the second coming of, I don't know who, Adam Dunn, well, you're not going to get that. But what can it hurt? I mean, let's do something. Do something. That's all I'm asking. Just do something.
Yeah, just let us know you're there. Just let us know you're trying, that these wins and losses matter as much to the front office as they do to the fans, because let's be honest, that's why we're here. We want to watch this team win. And when you have Graham Ashcraft go 6 innings, 2 earned runs against a tough Padres lineup, and the boys just can't score runs around him, I mean, it's frustrating. But while Mike Ford may or may not be on the way, there is some help on the way. We got a TJ Friedl update, and my guy, along with relief pitcher Alec Young, is set to begin a rehab stint in Louisville, Kentucky. It is on the verge, Chad. I don't know how quickly they're going to try to make this happen, but you have to reckon we could be as soon as maybe, I would guess 2 weeks, maybe a little longer, but at least around 2 weeks before we see TJ Friedl. What do you think?
I would hope sooner. I mean, I would hope the very second that he's it probably won't be sooner, but at the very second that you feel like he's fully healthy to play. I mean, my thoughts on TJ Friedl are that last year he had his career year. I do not expect him ever to duplicate that. And I don't intend that as a criticism, TJ Friedl. Because when I say that the Reds need him back as soon as possible, because he's light years better. Even if he's not as good as last year, he's light years better than what we've been running out there in the outfield. Athletically, great defensive center fielder as well. Should have got robbed of the Gold Glove last year, frankly. Should have won. And he takes up some of those bats that you're giving to our buddy Stu. And I don't know. So it probably will be a little while, because, it's been a while since you swung a bat. You got to get back into it. You can't just roll out of bed at 3 a.m. and hit line drives. But it's at this point a little bit urgent, given the state of the offense, to get him back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, you said it. the more bats we get for TJ Friedel, the less we get of Nick Martini and Bubba Thompson and Stuart Fairchild. We put some guys back in the roles they're supposed to be in. So just come back, TJ. Come back so soon. It cannot happen soon enough. All right, Chad, you want to get into some viewer mail questions to take this bad boy home?
Absolutely. I can't wait.
I was hoping you would say that. I was hoping. I guess we should mention that the Orioles are coming to town, the Baltimore Orioles. That's going to be a fun test because that's a talented young ball club playing good baseball. It would be a reason in the pro interleague play column for me that you get to watch some of these guys. I know it's a hot take. I'm currently reading that book I mentioned by Keith O'Brien, Charlie Hustle, the Rise and Fall of Pete Rose. And it made me kind of have to agree with you there. Like the AL versus NL used to really mean something. So if I thought the Reds were actually going to ever make the World Series, I would feel more strongly about this. So I'll take what I can get.
Point well taken.
Yes. So fun series. And I think we got Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, and Nick Lodolo going in that series. So
against a talented young
best.
lineup. I mean, yeah, it's going to be fun.
A lot of things that the Reds were saying, they're kind of like where a year ahead of the Reds schedule. A lot of prospects that came up, a lot of guys that started playing well right away, kind of made their tear down a year before the Reds. So it's a fun test to watch our guys go up against. All right. It's viewer mail time, baby. Shout out to these are actual mail from actual viewers from our members at patreon.com/riverfrontcincy. Chad, we got a new patron this week.
I know, man. Love it.
Pretty pumped about this. We're going to welcome you by the name that you threw out here. It's Blast of Silence, one word. If you want us to go by your Christian name, by all means, let us know. We'll do that. Also, your email address was from the United Kingdom, so not sure if that means anything or not, but we could be adding to our Calvin Metcalf honorary Reds fans from across the pond.
Another international patron. I love it. But now I guess the question is it's a UK email address. You said, you sure that's not the University of Kentucky?
I mean, it could be. If the University of Kentucky is using Yahoo email addresses these days, it wouldn't surprise me. It's, University of Kentucky.
So you can let us know. Yeah, you can let us know if you want us to call out your actual name next week. But what do we do, Nate, when we get a new patron? We have something we have to do here.
We got to put him on the beer league softball team, and I'm hesitant to do it without having permission to use his real name. So we're going to have to go with Blast of Silence on here. And if your name is Blast of Silence, I mean, you're a masher. Blast is in your name. You're leading the softball circuit in home runs every single year. So I've got my guy just a beer slugging, home run hitting first baseman. He might even wheel a cooler out to first base with him and sit on it in between pitches. What do you got?
Can't say it any better. Can't say it any better. I thought about maybe a shutdown closer. It causes the other team to, their bats to go silent, something like that. I was trying to get too cute there, but I think you've got it. So hey, Blast. I've never called anyone Blast before. Appreciate you. Thanks for joining the family.
Yeah, so pumped to have you. Can't wait to get to know you and start chatting away in the Slack channel. We can make sure you get a link to that. All right, first question. Well, first statement from Kyle Kapler. Kyle says eloquently, Nick Krall is a moron. I'll pretend there's a question mark there. Nick Krall is a moron? He's Ron Burgundy? I don't think Nick Krall is a moron, Kyle, but he is doing moronic things. There have been some dumb decisions made. Chad?
Now, as with everything, I wonder how much is Nick Krall and how much are the limitations placed upon him by ownership. So I don't think he's a very good general manager, but I also don't think he's a moron. So for the first time ever, I'm going to disagree with our friend Kyle Kapler. Did I just defend Nick Krall against accusations of being a moron? I rushed to Nick Krall's defense.
He's still just, living the high life off that Tyler Mahle trade. All right. Next question from another one of our international family members, Joey Gaditza from up north. The Reds are hanging in there indeed. That said, How long can they hang in there? Chad, you want to bet lead off on this?
Yeah, I mean,
Baseball joke.
is there any reason to believe they can't hang in there the whole season? I mean, that's sort of where I let off here at the beginning of the show. They can hang in there the rest of the year. I mean, the only thing that's going to keep them from being at least on the periphery of the race the rest of the year are injuries. And yeah, that can happen. That can happen. We don't know. It's already hit Cincinnati pretty hard with two of the three most, or maybe two of the four at least, most important offensive players on the team coming into the season, with Friedel and Matt McClain. So it can happen, but short of some injury issues, more additional injury issues, I don't see any reason why they're not gonna be able to stick around. And so hanging in there is not exactly what we want. Yeah, I want them firmly in the playoff race, the division, winning a division, things like that. But that's not the question. So that's my opinion. I don't. Yeah, I think they're there.
I agree. I think they're going to have to hang in there until they have as healthy of a roster as they're going to be able to put out. Noel Marte comes back from his suspension halfway through the season. Hopefully we get Matt McClain back sometime in August. Who knows? But they're going to have to hang in there for a little while. And if you want to look for reasons why they can, that's what we've been talking about this whole episode. That pitching staff, they can hang in there as long as these guys are pitching the way they have been. You don't need to put up 5, 6, 7 runs a game when you're holding the other team to 2 or 3. So, yeah, they're going to keep hanging in there, Joey. Next question from Skylar Webker, best name in the Patreon family, other than Blast of Silence. The Reds have a winning record for the first month of the season for the first time since 2013. They are getting battled early with injury, illness, and the suspension. On top of that, only Ellie and Steer hitting above the 250 mark, and Steer just barely that. My question are realistically, how good is this team about to be when the hitting does come around for the rest of the team? And when can we start printing the World Series shirts? If this team starts hitting, Chad, they're scary. If they're getting above average production from 7 spots in the lineup, which I think is not unreasonable to hope for, I think that they're going to be in the thick of this NL Central race all season long, and they could have a chance late in the season to be firmly entrenched, like you just said. As for the World Series T-shirts, Skylar, I would say that print them now, baby, because they print them for the losers too, and they always get shipped out to somebody that needs them. I'd buy one.
No, we've been dancing around this most of the episode, but I think the way Skylar has framed that is pretty good. If they get the hitting, and I'm not, I think the hitting will come around at least some. But if it really comes around, this team is not the Dodgers and probably not the Braves, but it can be in that next tier because the pitching has been so good. Now the pitching could fall off a cliff. Pitching, I'm not going to say anything about pitchers getting injured, but there's lots of ifs. But if the given here in this scenario is the offense has bounced back, then this team it's certainly the best. It can be the best team in the division. I don't have any doubt about that if they're hitting. So that's a lot to look forward to, I think.
So much fun to watch. I mean, you see even now when on a whole the offense has been struggling, but the games that they're clicking, I mean, that's that fire and that energy and that electricity that we had so much fun with last year, and it's still there. But then those guys start mashing, they become some must-watch television and maybe the most exciting team in baseball, at least right up there. All right, next question from Branch Brown via the Twitters. Should the Reds go ahead and make a trade for an actual MLB right-handed outfielder? Chad?
Now, I have a question. Did Branch recycle this viewer mail question? Because I think that sounds like a question from last October or November or December or January or February or March or April. We've been screaming. Everybody on earth knew the Reds needed a right-handed hitting outfielder. Can we go back to the first question or a statement from Kyle Kapler? I want to change my answer. Yes, they should go ahead and do it. They should have done it 6 months ago.
100%. Without question. I especially while there are these injuries and the team is scuffling. Like, you don't have to only make trades in the offseason or the deadline. We know you don't like making trades at the deadline when it involves acquiring major league talent, Nick Kroll, but you can, and you can do it now too. Go find some dumpster hire like the White Sox, get a guy, and let's go out there and win a division. So yes, Branch, they should. James Urban with a fun question. I wish it was more fun, but if baseball was frozen in 1 year and you were forced to watch that 1 year for the rest of your life, which Red season would you choose? The reason I said I wish this was more fun because I wish I had more seasons to choose from. For me, it's easy. The most fun I've ever had being a Reds fan was 2010, which is crazy. Like they got swept in the first round of the playoffs and, got no hit by Roy Halladay. But I think just from a fanhood perspective, I was able to watch most games, listen to a giant chunk of the ones that I couldn't watch, know exactly where I was when Jay Bruce clinched it, got to go to a playoff game in Cincinnati with you. Like, without a doubt, that's the one that I want to relive over and over and over. Even when they got swept and lost, like, the vibes were still strong in the car ride home that day.
They were, and I won't soon forget that ride home where the Reds they got swept, but it was as exciting a moment to be a Reds fan as I'd had in 20 years probably or 15 anyway. And for a generation of Reds fan, it just seemed like, oh my gosh, finally, this was just a taste. It's coming, and we had some fun the next few years, but it never really materialized like we hoped. I think this is a great question. I think it's a fantastic question that we could talk about for a long time because you could, especially when you get to my advanced stage, there's a few that you could choose from. But for me, and I've said it often, my favorite Reds team is that 1995 Reds team that lost in the National League Championship Series to Atlanta. But I mean, I've talked often about how Reggie Sanders should have been the MVP that year in the National League. It was just incredible. Of course, the guy that did win the MVP was another guy playing on that 95 Reds team, Barry Larkin, who was pretty darn good himself. But you had Bento Santiago as your catcher. He and Eddie Taubensee sharing time, or Benito Santiago, but in our house he was called Bento Santiago. And Eddie Taubensee at catcher, Hal Morris, Brett Boone at second, Ron Gant in left field, Deion Sanders for part of the season in center field. Had Mariano Duncan, had some Jeff Branson at third base, Mark Lewis, who had a grand slam in the playoffs. Now, the pitching was not great, but Jim Bowden went out and got some guys to improve the rotation during the season. He went out and acquired David Wells, right? Yeah.
He could do that.
I know, right? And so, I don't know. It was just a Pete Shurik. That was his magical season, but John Smiley. It was a fun season. That's the one. That's a fun question, and I could answer it 10 different ways probably, but I'll go with 95.
We should bookmark this question because I think if we got a nice panel together, we can come up with different answers. Like I know, so Seth Shaner, host of Red Leg Roundtable, he's interviewing fast Red players. He specifically got the idea to do this because he kind of wanted to relive that 1999 season where the Reds finished second in the Central, but they were right there until the very end. Just a beloved team. That might be his favorite team. Bill Lack, probably loved the 1927 Reds.
Wait, come on.
Sorry, Podfather.
Good, not kind.
Sorry, Podfather. But I would be very interested to see what Bill's favorite Reds team really was. He got to watch the Big Red Machine up close and personal. We'll more on this later, James. Great question. All right, Brandon Kamek asks, hitting below their weight is a common expression for guys struggling at the plate. Is that why Nate loves the hefty boys? Jumbo Diaz could have hit below his weight and still been a solid leadoff guy. Absolutely, Brandon. That's incredible. That's why I want Mike Ford up here. I like guys that can hit below their weight and put up batting averages similar to Tony Gwynn's. I
have nothing to add to that. Nothing to add.
Love it. All right. Last question from Rich Thompson. He says, the good Reds pitchers are racking up a lot of Ks. The bad Reds hitters also racking up a lot of Ks. By the All-Star break, who will be leading the Reds in strikeouts? A pitcher or a hitter? So right now, Ellie De La Cruz is leading the team at 39 offensively. Jamer with 36, CES at 31 in 6 less games than Ellie. The pitcher side of things, Hunter Green leads the team with 42. So there's only 3 strikeouts separating the pitching leader and the offensive leader in strikeouts. I'm going to say a pitcher's going to be leading because Hunter's going to keep it up. Ellie is cutting down on his whiffs, so that won't be increasing quite so significantly. So quickly, CES is going to come around, be the guy. He's always going to strike out a lot, but not as much as he has been. So, Hunter Green will be leading the team in strikeouts.
Yeah, that's the answer. We've already said it earlier in the show. Hunter Green is back. He's officially fixed, and Ellie De La Cruz is officially. He's learned how to take a pitch. So his strikeouts are just going to fall off the table. They're just going to drop. And Hunter Green is going to go 7 innings and strike out 8 guys, probably every 5 days the rest of the way. So
the rest of my life.
Yeah, probably. Oh yeah.
I mean, I think it's totally realistic to expect that. All right. Thanks for some awesome questions this week, gang. Chad, any parting words of wisdom before we sign off for the evening?
I don't think so. This is fun, Nate. But I would say good vibes only. The Reds are above 500.
I apologize for bringing some negative energy early. I apologize. I hadn't showered off the stink of watching Nick Martini hit so often over the last few days. I'm sorry. You guys don't deserve that. Please shout out to all the Riverfront shows. I mentioned Red Leg Roundtable with Seth Shaner. We got a recording coming up here in a few days with the aforementioned Keith O'Brien, a fantastic author. Excited to talk with him about just reliving Pete Rose's whole career. I've learned some fascinating things. I can't wait to dive in there with Seth leading the show. Go back and listen to some of Seth's old episodes, man. Those things are evergreen. You can listen to his interview with Pokey Reese, Eddie Taubency, Scott Williams, a lot of those guys on that super fun 1999 team. Shout out to Tim and Ben over at Late Night Reds. They got some NBA stuff coming live tonight also, which doesn't matter because once again, like last week, it's live on Thursday. So by the time you hear this, it will have been passed. And then shout out to the Welcome to the Jungle gang, Joe and Parker, coming at you with all the hot Bengals offseason content. And you know it's hot because it's Joe Farsing. Rumor has it he's going to take his shirt off next episode. So cheers. Shouts to everyone for listening, for tuning in. We appreciate y'all. And always, always, always shouts to our Riverfront family over at patreon.com, where you too can join the family for as little as $2 a month at patreon.com/Riverfront Cincy. All right, Chad, let's get out of here. Thank you, everyone. Go subscribe, tell your friends, do all that good stuff. But shout out to Adam Dunn. Shout out to the man, Lisa Verto. Shouts to Wayne Crinchicki and Eli Cash for Chad Dotson and Pete Shurik. This is Nate Dotson saying so long, Cincinnati.